Hey there, Christy Shelton from foreverandafter.com, and continuing our focus on food intolerances, today I wanted to share with you some tips on how to identify what food intolerances you have and how to kind of phase them out of your system. So if you've caught any of my other talks or videos, you know that I got a blood test done. I paid a couple $100s out of pocket to have my blood tested to tell me what my food intolerances were. And I understand and completely get that that's not reasonable for most people, and that's fine. So your second option is to talk to your doctor. A lot of insurance companies will actually cover the screening and the testing as long as they think it's going to help you with something else. So if you're suffering from one of the 118 plus conditions that are probably attributed or affected by food intolerances, there's a good chance your insurance company may cover for you to have the testing done. The easiest way to, and most cost-effective way to figure out your food intolerances is by keeping a food journal. And this is something that I had done off and on for years when I was struggling with my migraines, because that's what all the doctors would say. They would be like, oh, well, it's got to be food related. I'd keep a food journal. But when I did my food journal, I didn't really understand what I was looking for and the correlation between with like a food allergy, you're going to get almost an immediate response to tell you that you're allergic to that food. But with food intolerances, it can be the next day, it can be 2 days later. For some people, it can be 3 or 4 days later that you start having symptoms from the food that you've eaten. And a lot of people have multiple food intolerances. So for me, mine is like whey protein, milk, eggs, gluten, and I'm a huge fanatic, or was a huge fanatic, for pasta meals, bread, eggs, baked goods, and so when I was eating these things, I wasn't just eating from one of these intolerances, I was eating multiple of them multiple times a day. So I could cut one of them out for a little while, but I would never really figure out that everything was kind of linked together, if you will. So what I would recommend doing is start keeping a food journal, but you have to be really specific about it. So start it with like each meal that you have for the day, like start breakfast, lunch, dinner, any snacks you have in between. You're going to list out each food or whatever you eat and in what quantities for each of those meals, going down the list. And then kind of either next to that or at the bottom of the page, keep track of how you felt that day. Did you have a headache? Did you have an upset stomach? Did you have cracking joints? Did your fingers hurt? Did your feet hurt? You know, anything like that that could be linked to food. And you need to keep track of those things on a daily basis because you want to start looking for patterns. So there are a lot of people in the world that decide to go gluten-free because it's the next fad thing and it's the cool thing to do. And I always told myself I was never going to do that. But when I got the test results back and it was like off the charts for me, I decided to give it a try, and I'm really glad that I did. So that's another avenue you could take. You can pick out broad groups of food, like say gluten, start with gluten, cut it out for a couple weeks and see how you feel. It's kind of trial and error. Start with, cutting down the meals that you're eating to really basic foods and play with them to figure out what you're intolerant to. I know it's not realistic to expect everybody to go out and get a blood test done. That's what I decided was best for me at the time because I wanted solid, concrete answers. I felt like I hadn't gotten anywhere with the things that the doctors had recommended. And I think my biggest problem with my food journaling not being effective was that I never did it long enough. So if you've ever seen a doctor for medical condition and they have you keep track of what you're eating, they usually have you keep track for like a week or two. And in that week or two, you might be able to pinpoint some things, but really if you want to find the true things that you're intolerant to and the things that are causing you inflammation and pain, you really want to keep it long term, at least a month. Shoot for at least a month, 2 months, 3 months, and play with your diet to figure out how different foods make you feel. But you have to be aware not just in the short term, not just for that day, how that food makes you feel. It may be the next day. If I eat a big, heavy pasta meal, I'm gonna wake up the next day with a headache. If I eat a bunch of bread, I'm gonna wake up the next day with a headache. I just know that that's how my body is now, but it wasn't always that easy for me to diagnose. So you have to make sure you're really keeping track of your symptoms and how you're feeling day to day. The more detail, the better. And you can sometimes narrow them down yourself. You can talk to a registered dietitian. You can talk to a doctor, especially if you're being treated for any kind of chronic condition like fibromyalgia or migraines or MS or anything like that. You can talk to your doctor and let them know, like, hey, I'm doing this food journaling. I'm trying to figure out if the foods that I'm eating are causing my body more inflammation. Can you take a look at it and let me know what you think? And they can kind of help make some suggestions too. So if you have any questions or you need any help with the journaling process, if you have some questions about symptoms that you may be getting, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a registered dietitian. I am studying to be a certified nutrition coach. So I can help you a little bit in that avenue, but I can really help you with personal experience because this is something that I live every day. When I make my decisions for my food, I know that what I put into my mouth is going to affect how I feel tomorrow. So hopefully you guys find this helpful. Hopefully you can narrow down some of your food intolerances, because I honestly believe that we all have multiple food intolerances, and reducing those intolerances and reducing that inflammation not only helps you feel better, but sometimes it can also help you lose weight and gain more energy too. So hope this was beneficial for you guys, and I will catch you guys later.